All right, well, we are doing it right now, kicking off the 4-week KickStart program, and I am incredibly excited to bring this to you because even though you may have already begun a journey with your health and fitness, or you might just be trying to find a little bit more motivation, I know that finding the right ways to move your body and understanding what's going to be best, the right ways to do it, and how to achieve the optimal range of motion can be very difficult. So today we are going to start week 1 of this 4-week KickStart program, and we are focusing on the upper body. Although many of these things might be exercises or movements that you already incorporate into your maybe weekly training, or you try to throw in here or there, I want to talk about how you can do them to make sure you are doing them correctly, and to also talk about different form variations that we can do to increase the workload that you have already. Just as I've outlined in the emails, every week is going to bring you something different with added variation and different ways that you can throw these into your weekly training regimen. But here's the thing. I will be helping you decide and give you the tools on how to perform these the right way. You get to decide how frequently you incorporate these into your day. As we begin the skills, days 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to talk about specific movements with examples on how to do them correctly, and then again the variations that can differ from one to the other. On day 4, you're going to have a stretch and a workout. It's going to consist of mostly cardio to let your body just kind of let go of all the work that you've done that far during the week. On day 5, we're going to do a workout that will incorporate all of the skills that you've been practicing and working on throughout the week. So you'll have 5 days of work, but the load that you guys decide to take on is totally up to you wherever you are and whatever feels comfortable to you and your body. It's important to remember this is your journey. You don't have to be working to anybody else's level or outperform them. You just need to know and be able to figure out how to move your body in a way that's going to help you progress and increase your overall fitness. So keep that in mind. If you find things that are really difficult for you to do, it's okay to take a few steps back and start over, just getting your body used to these. You can also think about limiting your range of motion. So if you see a movement or an exercise with a full range of motion, you can break that down into a quarter or a half of that range of motion until you progress into being able to do the full range of motion. Okay, so the very first movement that we are working on, this is going to be day 1, and I went right to it. I know so many people struggle to be able to perform push-ups or to be able to perform several of them. They are very tricky to do, specifically for women. So I want to go over a couple things and really just talk about how to do them, what your body should look like, and ways to modify them that are actually going to be beneficial to progressing into doing full push-ups down the road. So the number one thing that I want you to think of is hand placement. Where should your hands be when you're performing a push-up? So where are your hands going to be? That's the number one thing to figure out, is hand placement on the ground, which is going to control how your shoulders, elbow, and the entire movement is performed. So the general rule of thumb for hand placement is going to be thumbs up here by your armpits. Now, once you have that down, you can go wider or you can go more narrow, but the elbows are actually going to bend down back by the body, creating some sort of an arrow with your body. If you have your hands up here or down here, things are just going to be thrown off as far as mechanics go, shoulder mobility, and it's going to put a lot more wear and tear on the joints. So thumbs are going to be right here at the armpits when you come down, which means that in full extension, your hands are going to be right under your shoulders, okay? So when you come back, you're going to bring them back here. Elbows are going to bend back here, and I'm going to show you this movement as well. I also want to talk about how to modify this. So a lot of times I will see people doing push-ups from their knees as they're trying to progress, or maybe they're doing a standard push-up from hands and toes, and then as you get more tired or fatigued, you drop to the knees and you're doing a modified version. We can benefit our body in a lot greater way if we change this movement a little bit. So maybe right now you can't do a single push-up, that's okay. They're extremely difficult to do. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to move to an elevated surface. Instead of just cutting down your lever from going from your toes to your knees and changing the length of your body, what we'd like to do is get you to stay on your toes but bring you up to an elevated surface. So sometimes that looks like doing them from a wall or the kitchen counter or a table. Today I'm going to show you how to do them using just a couple coolers, which is what I use for my boxes here in my home gym. So regardless of if you are doing a basic push-up or if you're doing them from a wall or a countertop, or maybe you're using some makeshift elevated surfaces in your home workout area, you want to think about your spine alignment and your overall mechanics. An area that I see people struggle with quite a bit is in keeping their spine neutral. Typically as the movement gets fatiguing for us, or if it's a struggle to begin with, I'll see a lot of necks that come down or eyes that look down through your body down towards your toes. So you want to think about, from push-up position, keeping a nice neutral spine. And if that means keeping your eyes straight forward to the ground or maybe just slightly forward, and I'll show you what that looks like here. So once you're in push-up position, your eyes shouldn't be down here looking at your toes. You want to be either looking straight down between your hands or maybe just slightly forward. That way when you come down into your push-up position, your eyes and your neck are creating a nice straight line. Now the other place that I see a lot of extra movement is going to be in the lower back. Typically as we get more tired, the hips will tend to sag, anteriorly rotating the hips forward and creating a leverage point of your lower back, which we do not want to have happen. So again, if you're doing them from a wall or some sort of an elevated surface, or again on the ground, you need to think about rolling the hips back, right? So keeping a nice flat lower back and continuing the progression of the full range of motion with that in mind. And I'll show you what that looks like. So anteriorly tilted hips, which we do not want, are going to look like this, right? We've got the bow through the lower back. What we want to do is we want to flatten that back, rolling the hips back, eyes are going to be forward, come down into your push-up, exhale to come up, keeping that back nice and flat. And exhale as you come up. Typically, as a general rule of thumb, you will exhale your breath during the difficult phase of the movement, and that's true here with push-ups as well. Now to perform a push-up from an elevated surface, find a sturdy place for you to press your hands. You're again going to be in the standard push-up position with your thumbs meeting your armpits when you come down into your full range of motion. So think about stabilizing your core, keeping a nice long lever from the top of your head to your feet. And if you need to, you can always adjust the height or the level of the surface that you're working on to make sure that as you progress into this, you can also continue to challenge yourself throughout the entire movement. Okay, so the next movement that we're going to talk about are cleans. There are a ton of different variations from powerlifting or Olympic cleans. You can do them with resistance bands, with barbells, with regular dumbbells, what you can do with kettlebells. There's a ton of different ways that you can do this. And again, right now what I want to talk about are the basics of how you can do this with proper mechanics, so that at some point, if you want to, you can progress into some of those heavier, more powerful lifts. I'm going to show you a couple different ways. The first one I'm going to show you is with a set of dumbbells. So when using dumbbells or any variation that I'm going to give you, you're going to have a stance that's going to be basically a hip width apart stance. So with these, what you're going to do is you're going to come down forward to just a pivoting kind of at the waist with soft knees. So you're going to come down, and when you come up, you're going to bring the elbows, and then you're going to catch them right here, right at your shoulders. You're going to reverse that movement to come down, so you're going to come back up and out of it here. Back down, hinge at the waist, soft knees, come up, catch, and back down. Up with the elbows, catch here, and back down. So over time, you can make this a much more powerful and difficult move, and you can change a lot of this movement, but for now, it's gonna be left there. I'll show you from this side. Feet are hip width apart, come down, pull it up, catch it here. Pull it up, catch it here, okay? So that's gonna be with dumbbells. If you want to, if you have an actual barbell or just weighted bars like I have right now, feet are gonna be hip width, come down, catch it here. Come down, high elbows, catch it here. Catch it here, okay? So that's gonna be with this. And now anytime you're doing a clean or any body movement whatsoever, you wanna think about how is the rest of my body moving and how is it in alignment. So you're gonna have a nice flat, long back. Okay, when you hinge down here, the back is gonna be flat, core is engaged. You're gonna come down here, eyes are remaining up or straight ahead, and then into your movement, okay? Keeping that nice and flat, hinging here at the waist. Like I said, there are a ton of different ways and variations to this movement, but this is the one that we're starting with for cleans. Okay, moving right along, now we're gonna talk about rows. Rows are going to be one of my all-time favorite movements, and it's because there are so many different practical ways to incorporate them, and they're really good for functional strength. So things that you're gonna use outside of a traditional gym or a home gym or during a workout. These are a motion of picking up, right? Of bringing something far away and close to your body. Can also translate into drawing a bow or to doing a lot of things out about in your daily life. So rows are awesome. And again, there are a million different ways that you can do them. So if you're doing resistance bands or barbells or dumbbells or kettlebells, single-sided, if you're doing, there's just a lot of different ways to do them. So I want to throw a couple of my favorites your way right now. The bent over row is an easy, practical movement, and you can do it with just about any form of resistance. In fact, I've done these with just weight in an old backpack where I just put a bunch of stuff in it, wrapped it around a towel so I had the weight that I needed, and I was able to do the rows that way. So there should be zero excuses when it comes to figuring out what kind of a weight to incorporate. The first one I'm going to show you is just with this, it's a weighted bar. It's an 18-pound weighted bar. So you're going to, again, start with feet hip width. I'm going to show you from the profile. So feet are hip width apart. You're going to bend forward from anywhere from 45 to 90 degrees, okay? And just let the barbell hang down in front of you, or whatever the weight is in front of you, with your palms facing in at your knees. You're going to engage your back and bring it up towards your waist and back down. Bringing the shoulder blades together. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, okay? Bring it right back up in here. So with this form of a bent over row, you can also do these with your hands flipped the other way. Again, bringing it here. You're gonna change slightly the muscles that you're using. So you can throw a couple different ways of doing that and then just change the muscles that are being focused on. Now, if you want to incorporate just a little bit more core work into this, which is always a bonus, you can do a split stance row. So you can do these just unilaterally, so just one side at a time, or you can do both sides together. For this purpose, I'm going to show you both. So you're going to take a split lunge position with your hips facing forward, right? You're not going to be to one side or the other. Hips are going to be facing forward. Come down, bending at the waist. Most of your weight will be in this front leg. You're going to let the dumbbells hang, engage your shoulders, so bring it back, and then bring it up towards your hips. Nice flat, straight spine, core is engaged. Inhale, exhale, okay? So that's nice because you're gonna get the workload of the upper body. You also get the isometric workload on that glute and hamstring on that split lunge side. Of course, if you're gonna do 10 reps on one side, do 10 reps on the other side, and always make sure that your core is strong. Now, another variation of a row is to do a plank row or a renegade row. These are a little bit more advanced, so you're gonna work a lot more of the body at one time. You're also gonna challenge the core here greatly. So this might be something that you wanna work up to. You can do them from your knees. They're not gonna be exactly the same from your knees. So I would, again, just like the push-ups, if you need a modification, I would take it to an elevated surface rather than down to your knees. So the plank row, you're gonna come into a plank on top of your dumbbells here. You're gonna come up here and you're gonna widen your stance with your feet just a little bit to give yourself a little bit better base. Make sure the back's nice and flat, and you're gonna row up towards your hip and back down. So you've seen these probably done before. You can incorporate a push-up into that. You can do some internal, external rotation with that. But the basic plank row or renegade row is a really good way to work on overall body stabilization, proprioception, so figuring out where your body's at in space, making sure you're keeping a nice long body, and also working on those back muscles. And of course, you're getting the stabilization of your entire body through just being in that plank and maintaining that posture. So not only are you're getting like a triple whammy here. You have the stabilization, you've got the plank work, and you've also got that working arm side. So when we think about the upper body, we don't necessarily think about stretching. Typically, if I see people stretching in a gym, it's lower body, maybe back, hamstrings, glutes. But when it comes to the upper body, we're always kind of like, well, how do I stretch it out? And the thing is, just like with any joint or any other part of the body, stretching will help you stay more flexible and mobile. It's also going to create health within that joint, so it's going to keep the range of motion in a healthy manner, which over the long term helps you prevent injury. And we're all for preventing injury because I know you want to be out enjoying life. So one of the areas that I see, especially in a day and age when there's a lot of us on computers, or we're sitting in desk chairs, is that we don't have the same kind of posture and shoulder opening, chest opening that we used to. So a lot of times the pecs can get really tight, which is an area that's got to be stretched and focused on. You can take a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball and get into the chest here. But what you'll find is that if the chest is tight, you're gonna have anteriorly rotated shoulders. So you're gonna have a forward posture here, which I'm guilty of as well. I spend a lot of time like this, so I'm bringing everything forward. So we want to think about opening up, pinching the shoulder blades together. And I always say lead with your chest, right? So imagine that there's a little star right here, and you want to lead with that. So bringing that up, opening up here, and leading with the chest out. I'm constantly on my kiddos about good posture, so that's a reminder, if you're on your kids about posture, you need to be keeping those shoulders back as well. But again, if the pecs are tight, we're gonna roll forward, which is gonna throw the rest of our posture and our neck out of alignment. So think about rolling back, leading with that star right here at the center of the chest. Now, another thing that you can do on top of getting a tennis ball and rolling through those tight areas of the pec is just to open your body and then bend your wrist here, so bend back. That'll also stretch the bicep, and just gently rotate your body away from that. I can get a good stretch down through the bicep and then up here into the chest. So you'll want to do that on both sides. You can also stretch the triceps, so bringing up overhead, come back this way. Make sure, of course, that you're hitting it on both sides, getting a good stretch both. You know, you don't want to create other imbalances because our body naturally has that from reoccurring things, repetition in our life. Maybe you're a dental hygienist, or maybe you have a job where you're constantly doing things to one side. Maybe you're a mama holding that baby on one side, right? So we just need to make sure that we're doing things on both sides to create balance. So you can do that. You can also do a lying stretch here, which is great not only for the lower back, so you're going to turn to the side, open that arm here, and then you're going to rotate over to look over at the hand, getting a nice stretch here through the front of the chest. And then coming back to center. If you have TRX straps or some sort of a suspension trainer, you can open up there as well. Just get on the suspension trainer. But I'm going to link to a specific spot where you guys can tap and then just go over and find a beautiful stretch for your entire upper body. And this will be something that you can replicate on a daily basis, if not 3 days a week, and make sure that you're staying strong and healthy. All right, everybody, that is it. This is what is on your calendar for this week. Next week, I will be throwing a whole new bag of tricks at you with different movements to work on those skills as well. For now, just deal with what's on your plate. focus on these simple movements and the different variations that I was able to give you. If you have questions, as always, feel free to reach out, send a message or an email. I'd love to hear from you.